Have you always wanted to know how to compete with the big boys when it comes to advertising on sites like Facebook and Instagram? Well, this is the video that you need to see. When it comes to advertising on sites like Facebook and Instagram, you don't need a massive budget to succeed, particularly if you're a local service business or a small to medium-sized business. Perhaps you've got a brick and mortar store or a small online presence in a particular area. You don't need a big budget to succeed. When it comes to the big boys on sites like Facebook and Instagram, they are spreading their budget UK-wide. In some cases, some brands might even be doing worldwide. So they're not actually focused or dialed in on one specific area. So that gives you a massive advantage. So what you can do here, and what I've done for some of my clients in the past, is to avoid the big advertisers. All we've done is we've looked at their local area. Do they have an office in a particular area? Perhaps it's the Northwest, perhaps it's Cheshire, perhaps it's Surrey, Suffolk, somewhere like that in the UK where you can dial in on a certain area, and then that means you're just focusing your ad budget on that area. The big boy advertisers, you know, the banks or Nike or Adidas, they're not doing that, right? They're not focusing on little old Cheshire. They're not focusing on Surrey, Suffolk, one of those, you know, relatively large regions in the UK, but it's not as big as the whole of the UK, right? So that you can use as your advantage by targeting those niche and those specific areas. You know, trying to take on these big boys and trying to compete where they compete is like fucking David trying to take down Goliath with his bare fists. It just doesn't happen. So you have to be smarter, you have to realise you're not as big as them, and you have to figure out what you can do a little bit differently, a little bit more, you know, smart than them, and, you know, where you might excel if that's your local area or something like that. These are the things that you've got to do to be able to beat the bigger businesses and be first to the rice bowl. Another great thing you can do because you're smaller is you've got the advantage of being more agile. These bigger businesses, they've got loads of governance to go through. They've got a load of bullshit basically to go and do if they want to run an offer or they want to run an offer in a particular place, where you've got the advantage of running a localized offer. And this is what I'd 100% recommend. So you could target Cheshire, you could run a localized offer. And if you're putting all your focus on that region, you'll be speaking to people directly in that region, and the bigger brands can't do this. The bigger companies can't speak directly to the people of Cheshire like you can. And this can be your competitive advantage. So you just need to take that away, create a localized offer. And I've actually got a framework here, another YouTube video, which shows you a step-by-step framework on how to create an offer. Follow that. It's a copy and paste thing that you can go and plug into your business. So that is something that you could do today, tomorrow, the next, whenever it is. I suggest you start now, but give it a watch. The localized offer, it will be absolutely key with your ads. It'll give you more personalization. It'll make you speak to your audience better. Facebook, Instagram, when you're doing advertising on that platform, it will carry your smaller budget even further. It will find the right people. So it's absolutely imperative that you have a good, strong, localized offer, and that will help you beat the big players, hands down. I've seen it firsthand with my clients. I've got one called the UKMC, they're a mortgage broker, and they are competing against the likes of NatWest, Halifax, the big banks. So we needed to do something a bit different. So when I took over the RAD account, what we did was we targeted people in Cheshire. We said we had local Cheshire friendly advisors. We created an offer giving away free wills specifically to the people of Cheshire. This actually gave us a hell of a lot of results. So they were advertising before me. They were getting about 44 leads per month. We took over, we pretty much 2.5x this with this offer, and it took it all the way to over 100 leads every single month without fail. And that's the advantage you've got as a local business. And that's how you compete with the big boys. You have to do something a little bit different, do something that they can't do, and they're relying on their brand. You know, NatWest has been in the game over 100 years. They're relying on, you know, things like that. Some things that you probably don't have as a small business, right? You're not going to get to that level. It takes years to build. It takes years to build that kind of reputation. So you need to do something different. And this offer is the way that you can do that. Another thing that you can do to compete with the big boys is you can batch create your content. Now, I know that creating content is difficult. I'm a small business owner. I also do it. I also find it very tricky. It's very time consuming. And as small businesses, we don't have the luxury of having a big old team, videographers, graphic designers, all that kind of good stuff that can take the content development process off our hands. But what we can do is we can spend some time batching it up, right? So you can batch create your content, you can strategize the ideas in a batch, then you can go and sit in a room and you can film them, different locations, whatever it may be. You can go and do that, and you can do it in one, and that's my recommendation. So the UKMC, the mortgage broker that I work with, they do this. So we strategize together, they go off, they get the right models, the right people, whoever they need in a room. They go and they take 30 to 50 ads in one go, in one day. They use teleprompters, things like that. These are cheap, right? These are things that you can get your hands on. But the point is they go and do it in one batch and bring it back to us. So we've got so much to go and test if we want to run ads. And that really helps us. And sometimes this is actually an advantage compared to the big boys. The big boys have to plan it. They have to get approval by various teams. Various teams can slow it down, whereas us, we can be very agile. We can go and we can film content whenever we want. But the main key to this is batching it up and then producing it out. It's something that we can do. You can do it on an iPhone. You don't need anything fancy. An iPhone and a cheap mic. There's hundreds of options on Amazon for this. Go out, go do it, and batch create your content. Finally, the last point I want to make here is play on your locality. That is your secret weapon, your locality. People resonate with locality. People resonate more with advertising when it's specifically to them, to their area. That is how you can beat the bigger businesses. The bigger businesses, they're not agile. They don't do this kind of stuff. If they could do it and they could do it at scale, they would. But obviously some of the big ones like Nike, they don't need to. They just play on brand awareness. Everyone knows Nike, but there's even bigger companies than that aren't that big and still need to do a bit, and they don't play on this locality. They've not got the advantage of what we've got as smaller businesses to go out and use locality as our advantage. So that's worked for my clients. It's worked for a window client who we halved the cost per lead. They were working with another agency. They were getting a £49 cost per lead, generating them about 40 leads a month. We took over. We were generating about 40, 50 leads a month for half that cost per lead. So, and that was all with targeting locally, localized offer, and it worked a treat. Same with the mortgage broker, local offer, things that resonated, specifically targeting a certain demographic. That changed the game when we're competing against, national banks, HSBC, NatWest, all that kind of shite. You need to do that. Localization is key. Thanks for watching, and I've got a ream of videos on my channel. YouTube's going to recommend one that you might like. Give it a watch, and I'll see you in the next one.